Hello, welcome to Bitcoin Bankers. Today we're going to be looking at Bitcoin, Ethereum, Cardano, and maybe one or two other coins and a bit of the stock market. Now, if you want to be getting real price targets and things like that for your Bitcoin and your trading, you want to subscribe to the channel, okay? We're not all hype here. I'm not doing all this sort of hypey stuff that other people do. We're just looking at the real price, real validations and seeing where things go. So click the like, click the subscribe, and let's have a look. Okay, so we're going to start with Bitcoin. Yesterday we looked at the price. We were seeing it was just starting to break out, just starting to move. And yesterday we were saying, is Bitcoin on thin ice, given that the way that things might be quite overbought in the market. Now, there's a lot of anticipation, excitement, that it's going to go to some crazy new highs. And that is a possibility. I've been saying that all along. I'd love to see that myself. I'll try to keep this video a little bit shorter as well. Yesterday, I think I probably waffled on a little bit too much. But looking at the price of Bitcoin here today, we're still in this sort of uptrend. It's had a nice breakout away from the triangle. Okay, as you can see here. So we've had a nice big move up. Continues to move. Still pretty bullish. If we look at our indicators, our stochastic, this is where I can give you an example of how the indicator can be saying there's big selling off, but because the price is so driven with a lot of buying anticipation, it doesn't have the same kind of effect that it would when the price is more bearish or running under these other ribbons and indicators here. So we can see it's a little bit sort of overbought at the moment, having a bit of a it might correct down into this sort of gap here, but I don't think it really will at the moment. If we look in the 4 hour, we still have quite a bit of anticipation to move upwards. The first line here, I mean, I could call them the D line, the K line, but I'll just refer to this. Still quite a bit of opportunity for the Bitcoin price to start moving up and running along the top like it did back here in this section here, which means a higher price for Bitcoin. Now, when you look at the daily, let's have a look at the daily. See, it's still quite a bit more movement there. The selling volume is still very low, so I don't think we're going to be seeing any kind of major pullback at the moment. At least maybe for the next 2 days it might be okay. The way that we're having these candle formations here, very bullish. So if this one can still sort of close quite small, it's very common that the next candle will sort of have another big rise up. So we could be moving to 67.2, maybe even 65. Somewhere in this range here, I think is where Bitcoin is headed next. If I can draw a little, I'll just use my pencil here. So probably in this range here, this is probably where we're headed to next. And that would be a nice little run. Okay. Still got my pencil on. If we have a look on the weekly, there's something interesting happening on the weekly. Okay. Now, let's bring this back down a bit. We've got some, 3 nice strong candles here, nice green candles. That's quite a bullish sign. Some people call it 3 soldiers. Quite bullish sign. The indicator, the stochastic, is starting to flatten out on the bottom here on the weekly and turn. Now, I don't think that's going to sort of come back up and move back up quickly. I think it's going to be a little bit longer. It might sit down flat a little, because on the daily, once this starts moving down, it might start to flatten out that weekly indicator. Okay. However, if the weekly is usually a little bit stronger, if there's a lot of more bullish anticipation, the weekly moving up can sort of stop this from dropping down too much, and we can have that flattening out right in the overbought territory, which means this can really start going sort of into some crazy prices. So Bitcoin is still looking strong on the short term. On the longer term, as I've said in the last number of videos, we are on a 13 count. Usually an indication of trend change. But if we have a look back and go back to when it was 2017, if you have a look here, I might see if we can open this up a bit more. Still not really doing it. You can see that we had a 9 here, a 13, and the count just kept going and going and going, and we went way past it right up to the 20,000. Okay, do I anticipate the same thing happening here? It could, but not as much. Okay, because even when you go back to this range, you know, the monthly was still overbought for, like, let's have a look, from July 16 right up until December 17. Now that's a really huge range for that to be overbought in. So, you know, this can still keep going up and do a similar kind of pattern to what it did in 2017. I still think it's going to pull back a little sooner than this did. I think there's a lot of buyers out there, big company buyers and things, who want to see a cheaper Bitcoin so they can get in. They may be waiting, and they'll be waiting on the sidelines. Okay, some of them may not even care, but I think a lot of them will want to get in even if it pulls back to the $46,000 range. Okay, let's have a look at Ethereum. Ethereum's just taken off. It's pretty much in the same position as Bitcoin. That's on a monthly. Let's go to 4 hour. Okay, so we are starting to move into this overbought territory. We've got on the 7th candle here. This can be a range where things start, you know, maybe start pulling back a little. It just depends, but I still think there's quite a bit of room for it to go up. We might see a 9 candle pretty soon, maybe around 23.81 to 23.90. So longer term, there's still a little bit of time. If you want to put a trade on, you might get something nice. On the daily, yeah, this could still keep running up to about the 2400. I think my total price I gave yesterday was around the 26 mark. You know, that we might sort of see it finish off there around the 2600. Okay, so if you're looking at a longer term investment, you want to get in. You know, I still think there's quite a bit of movement. A $300 move, depending on what you're putting in, is a fair price. If we go a little bit lower, let's go down to 1 hour. Okay, we're starting to have another sort of spike up. This has just been happening very recently, the last sort of 20 minutes. Okay, if you're seeing this over here, this is the Australian price of Ethereum. This is the US price. And it's looking pretty strong. I think Ethereum really wants to sort of take off. And traditionally, for the last number of years, I've always stayed away from Ethereum. I just don't like the way that it moves. But seeing that it's finally starting to get a lot more attention, a lot more investment because of all the other coins that use the ERC20 platform or whatever it is for Ethereum. You know, Ethereum is getting that extra attention and that extra use case. So, you know, she's driving up pretty hard. We've finished the 13, and it looks like it's starting a new count here. So we might be on a path to some pretty good action in Ethereum. We don't know how high this could go. I've set my benchmark in earlier videos. Go to the daily, see if it shows it. No, not quite. Maybe the weekly. So I've set my total price for the year for Ethereum to be around the $4,000 mark. You know, that's including if we, you know, have a bit of a pullback and then take off later. I think maybe we might start seeing that range around November. You know, if we're lucky, just the way that things are moving. But I don't think it'll reach 4,000 straight away. If it does, fantastic. I'll be happy with that. But I think it's just going to get to maybe the $2,600 mark at the moment. And then we'll have to see where it goes. As I've always said, just step by step, just work out little ranges. Don't worry about people saying 27,000 and all these kind of crazy prices. Let's fix real prices and targets that you can meet and get some little profit off those, okay? That's probably a bit of a safer way to trade. If we know that, you know, maybe over the next 5 years, could Ethereum reach 27,000? Yeah, most likely. It's possible. I don't think it will. But let's see how we go. Let's move to ADA. And we'll go to the 4 hour. Again, having a nice burst. As we saw yesterday in the video I did yesterday, a lot of coins are in this ascending triangle pattern. You know, there's been a lot of buying momentum over the last 6 months in right across the crypto market. So they're all sort of taking these formations. A lot of them are breaking out, which is good to see. So some of these are breaking out a little early. I think ADA has really taken off, which is great. Yesterday it was sort of 2 days ago when I did the video, it was down here. So, you know, that's a nice big move. Let's have a look. It was around here the other day. So it's moved up 20% in the last couple of days, which is a great move. Because I sort of got in around here. I just bought some the other day. It's 8th of April. Today's the 14th. This is the 11th, so that's 2 or 3 days ago when I did that first welcome back video. And she's taken off. I said it would hit here, get some resistance, and it's actually taken off a little bit earlier than I thought. I thought it may have pulled back, but hey, great. So she's on a good strong move. If we have a look at it on the daily, still quite a bit of upside there. I've set the target for $1.88 US, which it actually is sitting at in Australian dollars at the moment. So $1.88 US is my sort of target that we may get to. I don't know if we're going to get there, you know, soon, but maybe, you know, what have I put this time? 21st of April, another week. Look, it's possible. It's possible. I'm thinking maybe $1.60, $1.70, but look, sometimes altcoins can just shoot off and just make insane gains overnight. And Cardano is one of the more popular ones that a lot of people sort of trust and have faith in. If you ever look back in February this year, it was at 33 cents. You know, and it's moved up 4x in that time. You know, it's just crazy. So it is one worth looking at. It's had a lot of consolidation here, like Bitcoin. So there's quite a bit of room for it to sort of just keep moving up and working its way up. It does seem to align with Bitcoin quite a bit in its price movement, so that's something to consider as well. If we look at Engine, I sort of jumped in Engine yesterday, and then it just wasn't performing very well, so I swapped out. And if you're in Australia and you want to get hold of some crypto and stuff, there's 2 sites you can use. You can use BTC Market, or you can use, if you really want all these alternative cryptos, you can use CoinSpot. Okay, coinspot.com.au, and you can get all the alternative coins. But you should, before you get into coins and things, you should really, you know, they're very volatile and very shaky. Most of them are built on nothing projects, so they're just pump and dump schemes, a lot of these. But some of these coins are okay. Me personally, I don't care what they do. I'm just interested in price. I don't care what they do. So I just read charts and see where the opportunities are and go from there. Now, I did have Engine, but I just didn't like the way that it was sort of sitting here performing. It might have some, maybe I should have given it more time. I think it needs more time. And then maybe we'll start seeing a bit more of a rise up pretty soon. I think maybe it might have some more selling off to do yet. So maybe in this range here, she might come down to the $2.80 US range, and before it decides to sort of move up. Okay. On a lower time frame, I mean, go to 4 hours, it's not going to make much difference. It's getting a little bit more encouraged to stay above the ribbon and just float along. On the 4 hour, most of that sort of pressure is gone, but what is on the shorter time frames can affect the longer. And this looks a little bit more bearish. It might have some more down action to go. So I'm thinking maybe we could drop down to sort of, as I said before, this range here before it decides to do something different. Okay, Bitcoin's still roaring along. That's looking good. It's still sitting around that 63,650 mark. Or in Australian dollars, Bitcoin is about $80,000, which is just nuts. I think it was mid last year. I was looking at it. It was around $12,000. Now it's $80,000. It's just insane, guys. Bitcoin is changing the dynamic of the financial markets around the world, and people are really starting to take notice of what Bitcoin can do. The banks are very threatened by it. They're coming up with all different ideas on decentralizing their own dollars, which they can't actually do. It's impossible for them to do that. That's why they have a central bank. Bitcoin is completely decentralized, and that is why it is far worth more than any currency, paper currency that exists or will ever exist. Okay, let's have a look here. Let's have a look at the US stock market. Now, yesterday we were saying it's really overbought. Probably looks like it was going to keep taking off, but we've just hit this 9 here, and that's actually on the 1 hour. But it is starting to have this little sort of sell-off, but these can be very small. Stock market is massive market, you know. So, but we are starting to pull this 9. This is a 4 hour. So it's quite some heavy overbought territory there. We may see a 1 to 4 candle correction, so have 4 sort of red candles, and then it might turn around and get some more steam and take off. If we look at it on the daily, again overbought, seriously overbought. So when this market starts turning down for a correction, if you have anything in the stock market, sometimes the US market offsets the Australian one. The Australian market can move up, but as the US market moves down. But when the US market does have a big sell-off, everything else starts selling off. So just be aware of what you're holding at the moment. You may want to take some profit, sell part of your position, and just see how you go through this one, because it's starting to get a little bit risky there. Still a little bit more room on the weekly. I mean, maybe the stock market go to 41.88 before we start having this sort of drop down. I think if it does pull back, maybe 39.41 it might drop back to. A lot of people are talking about the Great Reset and all this sort of thing, big pullbacks. It is possible that can happen, but you know, that's up to the big boys and girls of banking, not up to me. That's why I sort of prefer the crypto markets. They move a bit better. The stock market moves a little bit slower. It has, obviously being regulated, it has a lot more security and things, but yeah, you know, is what it is. Spread out your interests, I guess. The Australian stock market. Look, I'm not a stock market guy. I don't follow it. I mean, I follow it daily on some stocks, but I don't follow it a lot. On the weekly, there is a little bit more bullish momentum here. We got this butterfly doji starting to form, okay, which is sort of indicating the price, once that closes off, can sort of may have a bit more of a move up. Our stochastic indicator is telling us this as well. This is on a weekly time frame. Okay, so the Australian market might be getting more bullish as the US market starts to pull back. Okay, so if you're holding things on the Australian stock market, you know, we might have a bit of a better run. But all in all, the daily is still a little overbought. The 4 hour, they're all struggling to try and push the price up here a little bit more. But it is breaking some sort of almost breaking some all-time highs. And when you get to a point of breaking all-time highs, you know, generally you want to look at having a position there. So if I bring this out of it, you know, if you're doing CFDs, for instance, you know, you might want to look at the Australian market and say, okay, it's about to break out. I'm going to set an entry position, say, 73. It's currently 72.54. Maybe you want to, I'm on a weekly, remember, so let's say I want to stretch this out a bit more. I might want to set an entry at the 73.12, something like that, and expect that, you know, there's going to be a nice sort of move there as it breaks the all-time high. But you want to have a stop loss in case she starts pulling back. But there is, weekly, as I said, quite a bit more space for it to move up. It just might be a bit slower on the daily, that's all. Monthly, again, more room. It is starting to go into a countdown, so we could see if there's enough momentum. It can usually sort of push pretty hard between the 9 and the 13. So, you know, I mean, if you're looking at it, maybe a 4 weekly trade, there might be something in that for you. You know what I mean? Just put in a trade the next 4 weeks in, if you're doing CFDs or something like that, or if you're having other stocks, maybe APT or something. This might be part of the contribution to the price having a bit more of a positive move in the upward direction. So that's everything today, guys. I've gone 20 minutes. I better keep it at that. Please like, please subscribe. If you're not in Bitcoin, I might look at doing a video on Bitcoin for musicians on the Wade Crow audio channel, and I'll see how we go from there. But that's it for today. Keeping it short, as short as possible, and let's go and see how we go over the next 24 hours. I'll be back tomorrow. Thanks a lot.